Well, Sportscast, April 28th, 2020. If you haven't yet, please subscribe on all our channels, YouTube, Periscope, and iTunes. If you're in iTunes, please leave a rating and a review. It will help us out tremendously. And visit us on thesportscast.net, thesportscast.net for the latest in free agency, draft news, and some NBA news. And also some wrestling. We included wrestling recently because of the drought of sports. This episode is brought to you by InstaBible app. Download InstaBible on your iPhone. Share verses to the world, and be blessed. Alabama, not the number one school that got drafted. It was actually LSU, but Alabama is deep in talent, and almost all of them got drafted this past weekend. And to flesh things out, no other persons that could know Alabama really well inside and out. Justin Riley and Stephen M. Smith, welcome to the Sportscast.
Go ahead, Justin. My bad.
Oh man, I'm just waiting for you to come in. Man, I'm excited. Just had a pretty big draft, like you said. Glad to be joined by Stephen yet to talk football.
Before we get started, go ahead, Steve. Tell your introduction to the world right now.
I was just saying that excited to be here. The draft was fantastic, something new, especially virtually. But got a lot of things to talk about now.
Justin, I want to hear your quick recap, 60 seconds of what was your thoughts of this first virtual NFL draft.
Me personally, I actually enjoyed it a lot more. I know it's crazy to be saying that, considering the modification we had. We didn't have the big hoopla. We didn't have the big show, fireworks, explosions, and all that. Instead, we were treated to a more intimate setting with the coaches, GMs, and prospects at home with their families. Just felt more relaxed to me. I really enjoyed that aspect of it. And it was just great in the sense that we had a solid sports event to be watching and to look forward to. Of course, like you already said, brother, the SEC completely dominant, spearheaded by LSU. I believe they have 14 picks. The SEC total had, give or take, 63 picks in all, which, again, they led all conferences in selections. I know that the folks outside the SEC nation who are wanting us to have a downfall are pretty upset because that's not coming soon. So it was more like the SEC Invitational instead of the NFL draft. But I enjoyed it, man.
Before we move forward, why did LSU get so much players? I know they just won a championship, but I mean, if they didn't win the championship, would this talent be able to surpass in the draft? Let's go with Steven.
I still think LSU would have probably gotten quite the amount of guys in just due to the needs that were in this particular draft. What was crazy was, to me, is how a lot of the LSU players didn't come off the board until the second to middle rounds. I know the first they got Joe Burrow off the board, got number 1 overall. They got Justin Jefferson to the Vikings, and then last but not least at the tail end there, they've got Clyde Edwards-Helaire. I think the linebacker snuck in there too. Patrick Queen snuck in there. So they got like 3 to 4 off the board in the first round. I honestly was expecting more. So for that first round, Bama and LSU were kind of tied, and then the rounds, that's when you saw more Tigers come off the board.
Alabama was definitely a highlight, but one of the biggest highlights was Tua Tagovailoa. He was the first Alabama drafted. There was rumors, even days before, that he might have dropped out of the top 10. We even said it on the show. But let's get on Justin's first reaction of what you thought when Tua got drafted by the Miami Dolphins.
Well, it was a tale of two emotions for me. I'm not sure how it was for Steven, and I'll explain it. I was pretty excited, first of all, that he was drafted high. He was still in the top 5, and it seemingly all the doubts and all the chatter, gossip, whatever you want to call it, was blown away, and he still held firm to that top spot, and that was with the Miami Dolphins. Now, on the other side of things, I am very worried about that selection. Is it a great fit for the organization? Absolutely. This is a guy that has unlimited potential. Has been compared to Drew Brees, and could quite potentially be the savior of the organization. But watching the Miami Dolphins draft, I was pretty concerned. Why am I concerned? One, they have one of the worst offensive lines in the NFL. Matter of fact, last season they ranked 28th in pass protection. They gave up 56 sacks. That doesn't bode too well with a guy that has durability concerns. So I'm a little concerned. They sort of addressed it in the draft, but I think they're a little bit too late as far as addressing the offensive line need. They, of course, got Austin Jackson at USC, Robert Hunt in the second round from Louisiana Lafayette, and Solomon Kinley from Georgia. Honestly, I felt like the Dolphins could have done a little bit better, maybe sacrifice their other top picks in the first round, maybe a second-round pick as well, and moved up in the draft and gotten one of the more premier offensive tackles that were out there that definitely would give me security and to his protection. Another thing that really stood out to me was outside of Devontae Parker, the Miami Dolphins have nothing at wide receiver, therefore giving Tua nothing to work with. And they didn't address that need in the draft either. Matter of fact, it wasn't until the 7th round that they actually drafted a wide receiver, and that was Navy's Malcolm Kelly. He's great, or he was very good, but he's not exactly the big splash we're hoping for being a Dolphins fan, but also being people who are pulling for Tua Tagovailoa. So those are my main concerns as far as Tua being drafted. Like I said, it was both happy and both concerned. I'm extremely ecstatic for the young man, glad for the opportunity, but I'm really concerned. Now, on the other half of that, if they decide to sit Tua this year and just let him, come at the right time, let the process work itself out instead of rushing himself in, everything I just said kind of gets pushed to the side. But if things don't start going the way they had hoped it would this season, and all of a sudden they're trying to push Tua into the mix, then my concerns become very valid.
Stephen Smith, what was your first reaction when Tua got the 5th pick for the Miami Dolphins?
I share the same sentiment as Justin. I mean, the first when I heard Tua, when I saw Tua go number 5 overall, I was overjoyed. I was happy for him. I think there was an article that came out hours before the draft talking about how Tua had passed his physical for the Dolphins. So at that point, you kind of felt like all the smoke screens were about to come down, and Brian Flores, who was a Bill Belichick disciple, the head coach now of the Dolphins, was going to go and get his guy. But at the same time, going back to what Justin mentioned, the Dolphins picked up decent offensive linemen, not necessarily the best ones in this draft. The guy from USC is still a little bit raw, still has to work on fine-tune some of the techniques in his game. And for Tua, the best thing for him would be to sit him, let him heal a whole year, learning behind one Ryan Fitzpatrick. But at the same time, it's just Fitzpatrick go out there and crap the bed and mess up, and then you have to really force Tua out there? Or will it be a situation where if they choose to spot play Tua, if they spot play him, and though Fitzpatrick does well, Tua goes out there and wows everybody, and everybody's going, well, we got to put him out there. So it's going to be interesting to see the dynamic that they choose to go with in terms of Tua, but just seeing him, my initial reaction from taking was, thankfully, Miami was able to look past all the smoke screens and get somebody that, when healthy, this is the next best thing since Dan Marino.
Justin, do you expect the Dolphins to throw in Tua on the first game starting?
No, I'll be very, very shocked, even though I think there's going to be enormous pressure to get him in right away just because everybody is excited and they're just ready to see the Dolphins take the next step back towards being elite. Hopefully, logic will step in and he won't be playing right away. And like I said, he'll be allowed to sit and just let the process work itself out and let it be Fitzpatrick's team for a while, even if things don't go according to plan or as fast as people would hope. and then let Tua come in later. But I don't fully expect him to start.
I'm from Miami. I'm in Miami. I really do think that Fitzpatrick is the bridge for Tua. I really do think they'll sit him out. Maybe the last 2 games they might start, but the bright future is ahead. Steven, what do you want the Dolphins to do to protect Tua? Obviously, should the Dolphins tank for another year and get some more players, or what are your expectations for next season for Tua?
Well, I wouldn't necessarily say tank, because if you look at Brian Flores, once again, a Bill Belichick guy, he's not going to believe in tanking. But the biggest thing I would like to see for the Dolphins is getting a couple of more really good offensive linemen, but not just that, getting some good running backs in here. I know, yes, the Dolphins, they have Myles Gaskin, who came out of Washington a couple of years back. He's a really, decent player, pretty good player, but getting somebody that's a real, star-studded, marquee name running back in this draft class in 2021, getting a running back that can come in here and grow with Tua and develop with Tua, and then drafting some of your more high-end offensive linemen. So not necessarily tank, but, get some more pieces around to protect Tua, and at the same time, get that running back that you need that can handle, a load.
Justin, you mentioned about last season that the running back averaged almost 2 yards per carry. Do you think the Dolphins need a running back?
Do I think they need a running back? Without question, but they also need an offensive line that's going to open up holes as well. They actually ranked 27th in yards per game, which is terrible. They also got their run stuffed 26% of the time. They picked up Matt Breida, which is decent, but if you don't have an offensive line that's going to open up holes, it's not going to do him a bit of good, and he's a talent. But it just surprised me, too, that the running back position, as Steven mentioned, was not addressed in this draft either. You lost our boy from Alabama to Arizona this past season.
Kenyon Drake.
I mean, incredible player. But what answer did you have for that departure? Nothing. The leading rusher for the Dolphins last year was Ryan Fitzpatrick. That's pitiful.
That's not a good sign. But
the Dolphins didn't address that need. And I'm equally curious as to why the Dolphins, while DJ Fluker was out and about, they didn't pursue him at all. I'm excited as a Ravens fan to see him land with the Ravens. Great for me. But why didn't the Dolphins enter in the conversation of acquiring his services?
We'll save the Ravens talk a little bit later, but I do have to point out the Dolphins had to give up a lot this past year in order to get a lot of draft picks for
didn't use them
for this year. Obviously, I do agree with Justin and Steven that they did not use specifically for the running back, but position. What grade would you give the Dolphins from this draft? Steven?
C.
Steven Smith?
I'm going to go with B-.
Okay. I was going to say B. Not the greatest. I'm not sure what's their logic. There's a lot of teams that pick some random players like the Raiders. Anyways, anything else about Tua before we head into Jedrick Willis?
No, we're good.
Jedrick Willis got selected by the Panthers at the 8th pick.
That'd be the Browns.
Oh, no. Yes. Was it the Browns? No, the
Browns
Panthers.
At number 10, buddy.
Yep.
Oh, wow.
Derek Dog Pound.
Okay. Derek Brown, what are your first thoughts when the Browns got Brown?
Jedrick Willis?
Jedrick Willis, sorry.
I'll go ahead and take this. I actually like this move by Cleveland. I mean, Cleveland is not a bad team in terms of talent. When you look at Baker Mayfield, Nick Chubb, Kareem Hunt, Odell Beckham, Jarvis Landry, they got David Njoku, and they stole Austin Hooper from the Falcons. So the Browns never had bad talent. It's just the organization is dysfunctional. So if they can ever get over that part of the coin, we can see something special turn out for the Browns. But just to pick Cedric Wills, a solid pick. You put him at left tackle. Now, he has never played left tackle before, but he's learning. He's picking up some cues right now from the great Joe Thomas, who played for the Browns for quite a long time and was a perennial Pro Bowl guy. So he's learning from Joe Thomas right now. If he could adjust that left tackle spot, the Browns already adjusted the right tackle spot and getting Jack Conklin from the Titans. I like the move.
Justin Riley, Jedrick Willis going to the Cleveland Browns. He's joining Baker Mayfield and OBJ. Is that a good spot for him?
Well, it's absolutely a great spot for him, and it's absolutely phenomenal pick by the Cleveland Browns in the aspect of, yes, like we just got through saying, that Browns have phenomenal talent across the board, except in one location, and that's been offensive line. They've had a horrendous offensive line, and they haven't addressed that. And if you're really going to see where this Baker Mayfield project is going to go, you're going to have an insurance policy or protection plan in order to get it off the ground. So here it comes, Jedrick Wills, who's going to be asked to play left tackle, and I don't think there's going to be any problem as far as adjusting goes. If you play for Nick Saban, one thing that you've got to learn is to be versatile. I don't think he'll have any problem there. But he's just a mountain of a man that can just get the job done, and it's a great start to getting this Baker Mayfield project off the ground, like I said. And he's going to be able to open up holes for two great runners. And I think that he's going to be a guy that will be in the league for at least 10 or 15 years. So great pick by the Browns. I actually projected this to happen. One of the few draft picks I got right in my mock. So I'm pretty excited.
We won't mention where you put Tua. It's keep with Justin. What I meant was Derek Brown going to the Carolina Panthers. Real quick, Justin, what are your thoughts about him going there?
So let me ask you this. You want me to comment on an Auburn guy on an Alabama show?
Oh, gosh. I got the wrong
Santiago, person. I think we're going to ask you to step off of here and just let me and Stephen take the rest of the way.
Okay, never mind.
You just committed a serious crime, If the Alabama faithful are listening, which I think they are, they might be setting fire outside your studio right now.
This is an SEC show, guys. Congratulations for him. The highest pick for Auburn. All credit to them. They're doing well in talent recruiting, whatever you want to say it. Let's go Henry Ruggs III, Justin. Going to Las Vegas Raiders, the first wide receiver selected. We were thinking this would have happened. It did happen. First thoughts.
Well, first of all, I'm glad that you got the right player in the right place. Second of all, Henry Ruggs was a guy that actually had come off the board first in this talented wide receiver class. And why is that? Well, John Gruden, it's no secret that he has been just incredibly jealous of the plethora of weapons that Andy Reid and his boys at Kansas City have. So he felt with this draft, he needed to stockpile to be able to combat that. And what a way to start. Got the fastest player in the draft in Henry Ruggs. Again, I got to say 4.27 speed is something worth mentioning several times. Gives him a great weapon. And I also like how he went out and got some guys to play opposite of him to take pressure off of him. You got Brian Edwards from South Carolina, and then also got the versatile Lynn Bowden from Kentucky. So that serves as a great compliment. Ruggs won't have to be the guy assuming all the pressure off the bat. But also what I'm really excited about is that he's going to be teaming up with none other than his former Alabama teammate, Josh Jacobs. So all of a sudden, by drafting Ruggs and combining him with the other draft picks and Jacobs, you take an offense that basically was comparable to a Schwinn bike and upgraded to a Maserati. That's the way I see it. Now, depending on which quarterback is there and how that's going to pan out, it remains to be seen. But to be honest with you, it doesn't matter if it's going to be Mariota or Derek Carr. It's going to be really hard to mess this up. But I'm really excited that Ruggs is there.
Steven, how excited are you for Ruggs going to Las Vegas?
Well, forget about me. Let's talk about the Al Davis family. Those are the ones that are excited. I mean, Al Davis is somewhere in his grave going, they made me proud. They made me proud because he's always been, a speed guy. And what was crazy was Mike Mayock, the GM of the Raiders, was at every Alabama practice, or if not almost every Alabama practice last season. He was on campus. I physically saw him a number of times walking around with Coach Saban, having conversations, talking about players. So you kind of had an idea that he was either mentioning Henry Ruggs or mentioning a Trayvon Diggs, maybe a Terrell Lewis. Some players were thrown into the ear of Mike Mayock from Nick Saban. And to get a Henry Ruggs, somebody of whom not just ran 4.27, how about that 42-inch vertical? Young man can get up there. And his ability to attack the football. This is something that, as much as I love Jerry Jeudy, and I do, Henry Ruggs was able to get off the ground and attack the football and make those contested 50-50 catches quite a number of times in his career. So to have that type of guy that can not just take the top off your secondary and beat you deep, but if you got to have a 50-50 bug, zoom Ruggs can get it done.
Let's move on to the New York Giants. They pick Jerry Jeudy going to the Denver Broncos, Justin. Let's stick with Steven. Great pick by the Broncos. People were predicting Jerry to go there or to New York. First thoughts.
I love this move by Denver. John Elway leaves. He's got the quarterback in Drew Lock. And what do you have to do to help Drew Lock out? You get him some weapons. You already brought back Cortland Sutton, who had a 1,000-yard season a year ago. You get arguably the best wide receiver in this draft, the best route runner in this draft, the best combo receiver in this draft. And if Drew Lock is ecstatic right now. I mean, he was on Twitter shortly after the draft going, Jeudy, you want to go with the playbook right now? You want to run routes right now? That link up with me right now so we can get this thing popping. So when you look at the AFC West with Kansas City and the weapons Patrick Mahomes has, and now the Raiders are starting to stockpile, you look at what the Chargers have done with getting Justin Herbert to pass to their guys. Drew Lock with Jerry Jeudy and Cortland Sutton, this wild AFC West has gotten a little bit crazier.
Justin, who had a better deal? Was it the Broncos getting Jerry Jeudy or Vegas getting Ruggs? Which of the players got a better deal?
Well, they both got a pretty good deal being drafted in the first round. But what's really impressive is Jerry Jeudy going to the Denver Broncos. First and foremost, I got to ask, was John Elway locked away in like a storage bin or something? Because he clearly wasn't making these great picks. This isn't typical of him. I'm just blown away by how the Broncos were able to do in this year's draft, man. From top to bottom, it was just quality pick after quality pick. As Steven mentioned, Cortland Sutton had a decent year this past year, as did the former number one draft pick, tight end Noah Fant, but they needed more weapons. And it was clear that Jerry Jeudy was going to be their guy. They made it known, they made it public. And by the grace of God, he was able to be available at that pick. What I like about him, and I don't know if I'm allowed to say this, I'm going to say it anyway, his ability to be able to gain separation in the open field, he reminds me a lot of Jerry Rice. Just a little bit faster, though. Am I allowed to say that, Steven?
You know what? Yes. If Greg Cosell, if Greg Cosell, who's been doing NFL films for over 40 years, if Cosell compare Henry Ruggs to Isaac Bruce, then go ahead and compare Jerry Jeudy to Jerry Rice.
Wow. That's a little too strong there, Justin.
I'm willing to step out on a limb and do this. And his ability to be able to separate that is very key in this Pat Shurmur offense. And I like that he's able to play both the slot and as well as on the boundary. And he's able to – it means he can basically mix wherever – he's in the mix wherever you need him to be. And what's also great, too, you got Cortland Sutton, you got Noah Fant, you got Jerry Jeudy. But they also went out and got another compliment to all that with Penn State's KJ Hamler. So basically, if you need to know what that means, if there was a Deshaun Jackson in this draft, it was Hamler. He is about speed, and more speed. And then they went out and got another tight end, a kid out of Missouri. So this offense is set up to be something very special. And having Judy pioneering this offense, man, look out. Drew Lock is about to become a Pro Bowl quarterback.
The New York Giants needed a safety, and they got one of the top safeties from college football, Xavier McKinney. Steven, is that a good spot for Xavier?
That was the perfect spot for X. I mean, at first I thought he was going to be a Cowboy. I really wanted him to go 17 to Dallas. And of course, New England at pick 23 trades out. So you look at the Giants, who recently lost Landon Collins, who's now with the Washington Redskins. X is kind of Landon 2.0. The difference is Landon in college at Alabama was more so thought of as a box safety, not really much of a coverage safety. He didn't get better in his coverage skills until he got to the league. X, in terms of coverage, has that down packed right now. He can play in coverage. He can play in the box. He can stop the run. He can blitz the quarterback if need be. And the coach of the Giants, Joe Judge, from 2009 to 2011, he was a special teams assistant at Alabama. So Joe Judge with Alabama ties gets with Xavier McKinney with Alabama ties. This is nice right here.
Justin, Xavier McKinney, will he make the New York Giants better?
That comes without question. And I'm really surprised that he was available in the second round. I don't understand that. That's an absolute crime.
What was that, Justin?
I don't know, because you know what? There were a few players I saw in that first round who were reaches. And I'm being very serious. They were reaches. And this isn't me having a bias towards Xavier McKinney or any other Alabama player in this draft. There's some guys that really could have been available in the second round, and definitely the third round they were selected in the first. And I feel like Xavier was unfairly ousted here. But you know what? He's about to make them all pay.
Was it because this draft was deep in talent?
It was deep in talent, but he's the number one safety on the board. He's one of the most talented players that were in this draft. He should have been first round. There's no question about that. You know, and there only have been 5 safeties to play over 450 snaps in the box, slot and free safety over the past 2 years. And only 5 of those produced a 70% plus grade at all those alignments. And Xavier McKinney was one of those guys. You know, for the Giants, safety wasn't exactly a pressing need, but when you have a guy like McKinney available, you've got to throw those needs out the window and steal them. And they did do that. And I'm telling you, he's about to make them pay. And it's funny is that the same thing kind of happened, like Steven said, a few years back when they were able to steal Landon Collins out of the second round. However, I feel like, and a lot of other people feel like, that Xavier may be a little bit better than Collins. And this is the guy you really want in your defense. He doesn't have to get motivated or be motivated. He does it on his own. He comes to play every snap. He has a nonstop motor. And he was really one of the 3 key guys that I felt this past season when the defense was in disarray. He really held them together. And I love the pairing of him with Jabril Peppers, man. That's going to be incredible to watch.
That's going to be nasty.
It is. And you know, Jabril is probably sitting there thinking, thank God.
Oh, gosh.
Look, the Giants ranked 28th in the NFL against the pass in 2019 and 25th in total defense. This gives it a severe upgrade.
Stephen Smith, yeah, I mean, that safety, you know, McKinney getting drafted to the second round, were you surprised about that too? Or you really think this draft was pretty deep in talent?
I thought the draft was deep in talent, but I was shocked to see X go in the second round because you look at the Cowboys at 17, they end up getting a weapon to go with Dak Prescott and CeeDee Lamb. And CeeDee Lamb was a big-time wide receiver, don't get me wrong, but the Cowboys have had issues in their secondary for the longest of time. And though they got Ha Clinton Diggs on a 1-year deal, they needed another safety, and they did not make the move. You look at the Patriots at pick 23, though I know they love to trade out of picks in the first round, Devin McCourty and Patrick Chung aren't getting any younger. They both turned 32 years old to start the upcoming season. You needed some young depth there in the secondary and some young talent on defense, especially after Danny Shelton gone, Jamie Collins gone, and Kyle Van Noy gone also. So it's just crazy how, he dropped in the second round. A lot of talent in this draft, but yes, I was still shocked.
Justin, another team that had a good draft was the Dallas Cowboys. Jerry Jones selected Trevon Diggs. How much of a gift or treat is that for Jerry?
Man, that's an absolute steal. Again, this is a guy that many felt, including myself, that was going to be in the first round. And he was actually trending upwards the closer we got to the draft. And it was just an absolute shock to see him available on day 2 in the second round. This is a guy that they desperately needed. They needed to address that secondary that is just absolutely pitiful. And this is a guy that gives them a boost immediately, can step on the field right away, can help turn things around. So I'm pretty excited for him, and I'm excited that the Cowboys, who had an excellent draft, made that decision.
Steven, can Trevon Diggs turn things around in Dallas?
I absolutely believe he can. I mean, this is a guy that's 6'2", a lot of length, and now that athleticism, great ball skills. There's still some areas of his game he needs to clean up because he's still a little bit raw. Keep in mind, he did not become a full-time defensive back at Alabama until 2018, and he got hurt. So he really didn't play much that season. And then 2019, this past year, was his first full year being healthy, being a DB. He'll be paired up with Clinton Diggs, who's the ultimate pro. That'll help him. He will also rejoin Amari Cooper. So they'll battle some things out in practices. That'll help him out as well. So good move there for Jerry. Good move. Good landing spot there for Trevon.
Let me piggyback off of that.
Go ahead, man.
Brought up a point.
Please.
Steve, you brought up a point a lot of people don't really recognize, especially if they're outside the Alabama nation. Yeah, he used to play wide receiver. He didn't really become a defensive back until late in the game. But just out of his sheer athleticism and incredible ability, he was able to make that transition pretty quickly. So he has a tremendous ceiling right now. And what I really like about him is his length. He may get possibly out of position or maybe even get beat, but he's able to recover quickly. But also, too, he can lay out for a ball because of his size, his length. He can pass away. And I've seen him do that numerous times at Alabama. And that's something that is going to come in pretty handy in the NFL.
The Dallas Cowboys is definitely looking pretty. Dak has weapons. They have more weapons in their defense. They got a new coach, Mike McCarthy. So things are looking bright in Dallas. We'll see what happens. Let's go down. The Miami Dolphins selected a second Alabama player, a man named Raekwon Davis. Does this have the stamp of approval for Justin?
Well, I'm really excited for Raekwon. For some of us, we felt like he may sneak into the first round, but for the rest of the folks, he landed about where they felt he would land. And I feel like he has a tremendous upside. It was real disappointing after that tremendous season he had back in 2017 that he kind of drifted away a little bit his final 2 seasons. His production wasn't what a lot of people would like after following that phenomenal year, but he's still a very talented guy. And the Dolphins absolutely need some help up front. I mentioned previously that they're one of the worst when it comes to offense. Well, it doesn't really fare much better for them on the defensive side of the ball. They actually ranked last in several categories. They allowed 30.9 points per game, and they averaged allowing 397.8 yards total per game. So they really don't have anybody there. They're horrible against the run. Right now they have Davon Gajo and Christian Wilkins, who was a top pick here recently, but they just combined for 4 sacks and 7 tackles for loss, which really isn't making much of a difference. Bringing him into the mix is going to make that defensive line immediately upgraded, and who knows, maybe they can off the well and turn this thing around. I mean, he's a big guy, 6'6", 311 pounds. Man, he can fill a gap by himself. He's somebody that they really need, and they got him. So I'm pretty excited about that, and pretty motivated himself. A lot of people question his motivation at times, well, it didn't look like he's going to have any problem with that. He feels like that he's going to become the Rookie of the Year this coming season. So I'm ready to see it.
Steven, is Raekwon Davis a key piece for the future development of the Miami Dolphins?
He is. It just comes down to how bad does he want it? Because going back to what Justin mentioned, after the 2017 season, we were expecting a first-round caliber production from Davis. It did not happen the last 2 years. Now, does this mean he did not make improvement in other areas? That he did do. But just the overall numbers in terms of sacks, tackles for loss, quarterback, those numbers just were not there. And when you look at him, he's going to more than likely have to play defensive tackle, may not be able to be in. Going to have to play tackle, two gaps, knock his way through, create some stops on running backs, affect the quarterback ever so often. But Brian Flores, once again, Bill Belichick guy, will get the most out of Raekwon. We'll try to get the most out of Raekwon. We'll see what happens.
Let's move down a little bit further in the draft. At number 84 pick, the Los Angeles Rams pick Tyrell Lewis. Justin, do you really think he was going to be a first-rounder as well?
They absolutely did. You know, the biggest thing were those injuries, and they were serious injuries, and his ability was a big question to everybody. If he wouldn't have got hurt, he probably would have been top 10 pick. You know, and this is a guy that showed us from the onset of his career going to be something special. Back to the conversation that you, Steven, and myself had in that day game. Man, that guy was a guy we didn't really know much about. All of a sudden, he's making pick sixes. And we're looking at our roster, and we're seeing, who is this guy? Who is this freak of nature? And he's just that. And he's exactly what the Rams were needing. They just lost three key starters to free agency. They lost Dante Fowler. They had Corey Littleton and Michael Brockers, which my Ravens got. But they needed someone. Yeah, the Ravens got. I'm pretty excited about that.
We're having a Ravens podcast later on, guys, but please continue, Justin.
I'm sorry for my little shameless plugs there. But he's a guy that they really need. The guy is 6'5", 262 pounds, incredible burst off the line of scrimmage, and he kind of reminds me a little bit of Chandler Jones. You know, and they had to take a chance on him. And I feel like eventually he's going to be a guy that's going to become a star in this league. And I feel like the ceiling is just incredibly high for him. And had he not got hurt, I think that you mentioned him up there with Chase Young. And I think within a year or two, he's going to end up being a double-digit sack guy. So I'm speaking pretty high of him. I've been on his team for the longest, and I definitely a strong advocate of him being drafted in the first round. People didn't share in that, but I'm still holding on to the fact this guy is an absolute stud.
Justin, you're too biased.
I am.
Hey, Steven, who's next? What are your thoughts about Tyrell Lewis going to the Los Angeles Rams with their new stadium?
I thought that the Rams got a first-round talent in the third round, and look who he gets a chance to learn from. He gets a chance to learn from one of the best interior pass rushers in the game right now in Aaron Donald.
Oof.
And of course, keep in mind, he's back with A'Shawn Robinson. Robinson, who left the Detroit Lions to sign a 2-year deal with the Rams, another former Bama guy. So you've got A'Shawn, you've got Aaron Donald. Both of those two are going to Tyrell Lewis. They're going to take him under their wing. If he can stay healthy, if he can find a way to stay healthy, this was a steal for the Rams, and in a division where you got Russell Wilson, you got Kyler Murray, you got quite the amount of really good quarterbacks, so you got to sack those guys. Tyrell Lewis is a guy that can sack those guys.
And lastly, for Alabama players, Anthony Jennings went a little bit later, 3 spots later, to the New England Patriots, or I like to call it the Bill Belichick Patriots. Justin, did the Patriots have the best pick that night with Anthony Jennings?
I think that the Anthony Jennings is probably one of their better picks of the entire draft.
Lord.
They did pretty good.
Wasn't like the Patriots dog picking them? I'm kidding.
I believe he was at one point.
No, Bill kicked the dog out of the room.
Oh, that's right.
Oh, okay. So I think what it was is Nick gave him a call and said, "Look, get your tail to that computer, and you make this pick." And all of a sudden, the dog's gone. But he was one of what I felt was three of the Patriots' good picks. It feels like they got a package deal with Anthony Jennings and then Josh Uche out of Michigan. And of course, they also got UCLA's tight end, with phenomenal player. If you hadn't had a chance to watch him, you really should. He's going to be an excellent player for the Patriots in the offense. But Jennings, man, he's one of my favorite players to watch. Yeah, he's a very versatile player, and he was like one of the strongholds of the Alabama defense, and he has been for the past several seasons. Been there.
Before we, go ahead. You finish?
No, no, not at all.
Okay,
this is a guy, and he's a strong dude. I mean, he can stop the run any given moment.
He's a linebacker, guys. If no one knows.
Thank you, sir. But impressive strength, great technique. He's a guy who can just shove people out of the way whenever he feels like it, and take down a runner and make a life a living nightmare for him. They like for him to improve a little bit on his pass rush, but I feel like that's something he will improve upon. And if he's not impacting the quarterback directly, he still calls fits in the passing game. He's batting down balls. Whenever it needs to be made, Anthony has always been there. And he's got a great motor. You don't have to worry about quitting him. He's going 150% every snap. And I just think that he really just fits in well with that defense by Bill Belichick. And what's really exciting, he's also going to be next to a former Alabama great. And I'm really excited about that.
Steven, are you excited about Anthony Jennings going to New England Patriots?
This is the most Patriots pick of all the Bama players, because New England's not splash, New England's not sex appeal. They're hard hats, get it done, get in the grime, get in the gritty, get in the trenches, just get it done by necessarily. And that's Anthony Jennings. And this is the guy that got better each year that he was at Alabama. He had a horrible leg injury against Clemson in the 2017 CFP semifinal. Almost lost his leg. Thankfully, the training staff with Jeff Allen and Dr. Andrews were able to save that leg. And, this past season, his senior year, the young man exploded, 83 tackles, led the team in tackles for loss of 12.5, 8 sacks, 8 quarterback hurries. Like Justin mentioned, was one of the key pieces as to why, Alabama finished in the top 20 for scoring defense and total defense. And, not just being with one Donta Hightower, but Vinny Sunseri, who's back with the Patriots as a quality control coach. I think Vinny had something to do with Bill Belichick making this pick. So happy to see Anthony in New England. He'll take over for the Kyle Van Noy role.
Justin, if you could put a do not disturb on your phone, because I'm hearing a lot of text message beep vibrations. So just a note. Okay, before we head on to Jalen Hurts, there is a question from the comments. Which Bama player do you feel was the steal of the draft? Let's go with Steven.
As much as I would like to say that Jalen was a steal to the Eagles, give me Terrell Lewis at pick 84. I'm just saying, this, if not for the injuries, this was a first-round pick, and him going to the Rams with Aaron Donald and A'Shawn Robinson, a healthy T. Lou, watch out. This could be a perennial Pro Bowler, a defensive player of the year at some point. T. Lou is going to be the real deal if he stays healthy. So Terrell Lewis.
Justin Riley, who do you think was the Bama player that got the steal? I mean, which Bama player do you feel was the steal of the draft?
I'm really torn because, there are at least 3 guys that I can really name that could be considered steals.
But you can only pick one.
Are you going to let me talk tonight?
Okay.
You can go with X, man. Drop into the second round, which is absolute crime. It shouldn't have happened. But I gotta go with Steven, man. Terrell Lewis. This is a guy that, if it weren't for those injuries, he would have been a top 10 pick, maybe a top 10 player, a top 5 player. He could have been regarded in the same conversation as a Chase Young. And if he's healthy, this guy's going to be an absolute disaster for people. And he's going to make a lot of quarterbacks' lives a living nightmare, and may even end up shortening a few quarterbacks' lives and careers. So I'm really excited to see what he's going to do. And he's really motivated right now because some folks are counting him out. And this is a guy you don't want to bet against. I'm pretty excited about Terrell Lewis.
As we know, Jalen Hurts was an Alabama player, was a graduate transfer to Oklahoma, but a lot of Alabama fans still consider him an Alabama player. He got selected by the Eagles in the second round, pretty surprising. A lot of people were saying probably third, but he was the only quarterback being drafted in the second round. Let's go give it to Justin. I know he's really sentimental about this.
I'm telling you, man, I really was about to go out and buy that Daniel Moore painting of Jalen winning that Georgia game, just because I'm just really excited about this young man. And, man, what a great story. Probably perhaps it's one of the best stories ever in the history of college football. And, you know, this is a guy that just really humbled himself and just stuck with the process, even when things just didn't go his way. And we're in a day and age where the things that Jalen did, taking a step back, holding the clipboard, sitting on the sidelines, and learning, that it's just unheard of. You know, a majority of the time, whenever players get slighted or feel like they're being slighted in just the least, they take their toys and they're gone to another place. Not Jalen. This guy's a warrior. I'm so excited for him. And I was kind of surprised he went to Philadelphia. I actually thought he would end up with the Steelers, which would have made a lot more sense, just because they need to take care of that quarterback need. They need somebody that potentially could be a future for them once Big Ben retires. But he's going to the city of brotherly love, the city of Rocky Balboa. And my gosh, it's funny we say Rocky Balboa because they kind of have the same type of story going on between them, and he's the underdog that everyone's cheering for. I'm kind of curious though how he's going to fit into the plans with the Eagles, what Doug Peterson's going to do with them. Kind of curious to see exactly what his mindset was. We know that Carson Wentz does have some injury issues, and if Jalen was to be more of an insurance policy, I can't talk, I'm so excited, then that definitely makes sense. But Jalen can be utilized in a number of ways, not just a quarterback. You know, he could be a runner out of the backfield. He can line up at slot. He can do a lot of different things. But I think you kind of have to with someone with Jalen's talent. You've got to have him on the field in as many ways as you possibly can. Also, too, from a leadership aspect, he brings a lot to an organization. And I really like what he's about in that aspect. But I'm just thrilled he's there. I'm thrilled he's in the NFL. You know, a lot of people, even in our little sportscast village here, didn't think that he was going to be a second-round guy. I'm the one who still believed in him. I also thought he may have gone first round or snuck into the first round, but he didn't. But my initial thought was second round, and here he is, and he's with the Eagles.
Steven, how happy were you or shocked that Jalen Hurts went to the Philadelphia Eagles?
I was thrilled, and a funny story, I didn't get a chance to see or watch Jalen get drafted because I was on the road. So my aunt called me crying. Like, she calls me crying. She's like, Steven, oh my gosh, it happened. Oh, he got. I'm like, Auntie, what's wrong? Jalen got drafted. He got drafted. God is so good.
Still no hearts.
I'm like, Auntie.
Yes.
I'm like, my auntie is just bawling on the phone. I'm like, Auntie, did you drop the fried chicken on the ground? I didn't drop the fried chicken. I didn't drop the chicken. Thank God you didn't drop the fried chicken. But my aunt was just bawling, on the phone. But I am so thrilled for Jalen, and it's kind of like, what Justin mentioned, this is somebody that went through a lot. I mean, there could be an ESPN 30 for 30 documentary just on Jalen Hurts, just the mentality that he had, the toughness that he had, even though things did not seem to go his way, did not get too high, did not get too low, kept the same pace. And this is a guy that can go to 2 different programs and be loved. And not everybody gets that. He can come to Tuscaloosa, Alabama, and be loved. He can go to Norman, Oklahoma, and be loved because he did great things at both programs. Now, we brought up the fact that Carson Wentz has the injury history. He does, but he also has about $128 million, and 108 of that is guaranteed money. So Philly does believe in Carson Wentz, but at the same time, from start to finish, Carson Wentz has not gotten them to that Super Bowl yet and won the Super Bowl as the guy. They needed to have Nick Foles kind of help out there. So hopefully Carson can stay healthy. Prayers out to the young man because he is a tremendous talent. But you get a Jalen Hurts at pick 53. You see what he can do, see how you can use him. I was thrilled, but more so thrilled than myself was my aunt. That woman was overjoyed.
Tell you, man, as soon as it happened, brother, I felt like I was in church about to have a praise break. Man, I was so excited. Even more so. I was dancing. I'm not gonna lie. I was excited, even more so than the other Alabama draft picks. And people are probably sitting here listening. Is this guy serious? I'm sorry, man. I love me some Jalen, and you just can't ask for a better story and another incredible chapter in this young man's life. And I was just ecstatic for him.
A heartfelt moment. I was really excited when the Dolphins selected Tua Tagovailoa. I think which I was telling everyone, like the very next morning, it felt like it was morning again in Miami. Yeah, I know the whole talk about durability, but I think this guy, like Jeff Darlington, really said it really correctly, and I kind of agree with him that he brings that alpha male, that leadership, that role. I mean, we haven't had a quarterback since Dan Marino. So this is really, really exciting for the Miami Dolphins organization, for the fan base, and I really hope that we could keep him healthy, and hopefully he'll make the right decisions. So hopefully he'll able to slide, able to avoid a tackle, and obviously we do have to invest in some linemen, but only through time. I'm patient, but I feel like we're back in 1984 again. So.
Were you down then, Santiago?
No, I wasn't. That was a year before I was born. But it has that Dan Marino feel, and now everyone's asking what number he will wear. Of course, he can't wear number 13, but
I think he's worthy.
He could, but that jersey is retired.
Sacred.
Any closing words, guys, of this Alabama draft? Was this the best draft for Alabama players, or we've seen better ones in the past? Let's go with Justin.
Was it the best one? I don't know if you could really classify as the best one. I think if you want to classify as anything, it's business as usual. Just another testament of the dynasty that the coach Saban has built in Tuscaloosa, the football capital of the universe. And it doesn't look as though it's going to be slowing down anytime soon. You have 9 players that are going to be contributing significantly to the respective NFL franchises. These guys aren't just going to be there filling out roster spots and collecting a check. These guys are going to be on the field contributing and gaining Pro Bowls, even Super Bowls. I believe that if Tua Tagovailoa has the right people around him, he has that protection, which is so dire. Get that man protection. Get him some receivers. Get him a running back or 2, and just make his job a lot easier. And then I'm telling you, if you really invest in your number 1 pick, it's going to pay huge dividends. But this really was an exciting draft. I think the biggest of it all for Alabama fans, and yes, we still claim him, was Jalen Hurts being drafted. Not just second round. The fact, he is getting exalted, as it says in 1 Peter 5:6, in due time. because he did the right things. And when you're doing the right things, you're going to get rewarded. And I feel like this man is about to take off into a whole nother direction. And I'm really excited to see what he's going to do. I think Jalen's going to end up winning a Super Bowl.
Wow. Big goal to achieve. Steven, what are your closing thoughts over this year's Alabama's performance in the NFL draft?
I thought this was a good draft. There have been a few others in the past that may have had bigger numbers, but Nick Saban was able to make history in this draft and getting all 22 positions drafted in the first round. Tua Tagovailoa, giving him that history at the quarterback position. But, two guys that didn't get drafted, but I was very proud of, Jarrett Maiden and Shaheem Carter. Both of those two young men signing free agency contracts. Maiden going with the San Francisco 49ers, Shaheem Carter signing one with the New York Jets. So even though those did not get a chance to hear their names called, Nick Saban still doing business. And even if you're not getting drafted, he's helping you get on an NFL roster. He's helping you make an NFL camp. So this is a huge recruiting tool for these young athletes that want to know, where's the program that I need to go to where I know I'm going to have a shot to get drafted? Nick Saban, once again, checking off the box. So you need to have your buddy at Alabama.
Alabama, very consistent with recruiting, with talent, and they're nonstop. That's one of the first things that Nick Saban did when he came into the Alabama program. He started with the recruitment department. Let's get the best players, and they're digging through. Yeah, they might get second every year, but hey, I'd rather be second than the 8th or 10th spot, right behind Georgia. But it kind of rotates back and forth. And of course, we're seeing that right now with Mario Cristobal. He's definitely getting a good recruitment ground game going, and we'll see what things are brewing up in the Northwest. Random question of the day: who is your favorite superhero? The choices are Superman, Batman, Spider-Man, or Wolverine. We'll give it to the guest of tonight, Steven. Who is your favorite superhero from those four?
Oh, man. Whew, man. Put on the spot here. Gotta go Superman. gotta go Superman. It was a tie between Superman and Wolverine because I'm a huge Wolverine guy. I pride myself on being a feisty individual. So I want to go Wolverine there. But you know what? Let's go Superman.
Justin Riley, who do you have? Who's your favorite superhero? Superman, Batman, Spider-Man, Wolverine?
Those are strong names there, and I'm really disappointed that Wolverine is not getting as much love as he should on this poll. I've been keeping up with it here because I'm a Wolverine guy. I've always been a big fan of Wolverine. He kind of got me into the whole superhero genre and the whole book world. He's just a fierce guy, a beast, strong.
At some point, y'all got to add Captain America on there.
We will next year for National Superhero Day.
Okay.
I think Deadpool as well. Nah, man, I've always been a big fan of Wolverine and by association the X-Men.
Batman is winning 30.1%. Second place, Superman 33.3%, which is my choice. Third place, Spider-Man at 23.8%, and Wolverine is a distant last place at 4.8%. You got 16 hours.
4.8, dang!
You got 16.
He's not beating Spider-Man, really?
Yeah, but there's 16 hours left. So if you guys are listening, go to the twitter.com/thesportscast1. Scroll down.
Wolverine power.
Let's get Wolverine
Absolutely.
somewhere in the 20s at least.
How you get more Wolverine? I mean, the guy's got claws. He's got the healing factor. Man, he can wipe out mass number of people by himself. I mean, come on now.
Breaking news: James Winston has officially signed with the New Orleans Saints. Guys, any thoughts on that?
You want to take this first, or shall I?
I'll go ahead. Decent, good pick up there for Sean Payton. It's a 1-year deal. Gets to be the backup to Drew Brees, kind of that bridging quarterback. But my thing here is, with the Saints also signing Taysom Hill to a 2-year, $21 million deal, $16 million guaranteed, is Jameis Winston the bridge quarterback for a potential Taysom Hill here?
That's a good question. Justin, what are your thoughts? I mean, keep in mind, this is a pay cut for Winston. I heard he had other bigger offers, but I heard he wanted to go to the Saints to get himself groomed under Drew Brees. I guess he's playing some humble pie here.
If I understand, I think that didn't the Steelers offer him a multi-year deal and he turned it down?
I didn't hear that, but I will not be surprised.
At this point in his career, he has to take a situation like this and just really sit back and just reevaluate everything and get himself together. I think you can't ask for a better situation, and that situation being humbling yourself and learning under perhaps one of the best to ever play the game at the position, Drew Brees. And I just think if he just really spent some time just learning and being groomed to do the right things, that he actually may turn his career around. He may end up being that elite quarterback that he was projected to be coming out of Florida State. That's what we're going to learn about Jameis in the next year. Now, is he the stopgap, between Drew Brees and possibly Taysom Hill? Possibly. The Saints may actually be doing this to see if Jameis can actually ascend to the next level and be a leader of that team and be a guy who can take over for Drew Brees and not take his place, because how do you take the place of a legend? You really don't. You just move forward with a different person. But I think this is an experiment on both sides, both the Saints and Jameis. If anything, I think that Jameis can capitalize a lot just by humbling himself and just taking this time to really learn.
Great arm, great strength. Obviously, he's, throws a lot of yardage this past season, but also did a lot of interceptions as well. Really random player. If you do NFL draft, he will be an iffy pick. One game he'll give you like a lot of points. One game he will just, destroy your pointage. Anyways, that is the breaking news for the Sportscast. Steven Smith, what is the best way to reach you, talk to you about the Crimson Tide?
People can reach me. That's Touchdown Alabama Magazine. Our site is toucdownalabama.com, touchdownalabama.com, where they can get all the inside information. They can also reach me every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday as I'm doing the show In My Own Words, the podcast, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, 6 p.m. Central Time via YouTube, In My Own Words, the podcast. Be sure to go to the Touchdown Alabama Magazine YouTube side, hit that subscribe button, turn on those notifications so that we can get you with your commentary, your updates, and a little comedy here and there on your Crimson Tide.
Yes, check out his show. I actually participated this past week on his show, and it's really great. It's comical. It's entertaining, but also very knowledgeable of what's going on with Alabama sports. Justin Riley, what is the best way to reach you? Talk to all about your TikTok account.
Oh, that's the headliner here of me. my TikTok clips. Oh, first of all, I didn't know that you appeared on the show, man. You didn't tell me about that.
It was last week. I think it was on Wednesday, which was like the night before the draft. Had a great time. We're talking about where would Tua go, and I think I said Miami. I don't know what I said.
And that was on the previous
You
Monday.
said New England.
I said New England. Yeah, I said maybe New England.
Wow.
But Patriots are pretty weird in drafts, but they could be lucky because they did pick Tom Brady in the 5th or 6th round.
They did. And I actually was on there 2 nights before, if I'm not mistaken. Steve, is that right?
Yes, you were. We were talking about Terrell Lewis that night.
Yeah, man, good week. So you had the Sportscast crew, man, representing. But as far as getting in contact with me, you can find me on Twitter at JustinRiley7. And then also I'm helping run the Sportscast Twitter account as well as our Instagram account. That's at the Sportscast1.
And you can reach us at thesportscast.net, thesportscast.net for the latest. And, of course, what Justin said, the Sportscast Twitter at the Sportscast1. On Thursday, we'll have Justin and Tyler to discuss who had a better draft night, Tua or Justin Herbert. But can't wait for that one. But, yeah, guys, thank you very much for a good night. Obviously, Alabama had a great draft night, I thought. and it's great to have these recap shows. I can't wait for next year. Have a night, guys.
Here. Glad to do.
Take it easy.